combination of unseen circumstances. These fall in love with they seeing shadows in the dark, the way they hate those slurs and words and curses that are cursing words. Iamd Robber fell in love, it wasn't ordinary. Now he was a slave and robber, he was a commissary. And they can help how they feel, so who's to say that they wrong? And everything was running smooth and it was coming along. Robber the slave, now his son fell in love with a slave. Don't understand, things you find out on his gonna be a race. So they continue this love fest, even though the system was fake. He told them to love, that they really started to love fest. When it's love in it, you gotta face it. You know the situation isn't really basic. Color is just wrong in the eyes of a racist. In a different matrix, now we gotta make shit. When it's love in it, you gotta face it. Even though the situation isn't really basic. Color is just wrong in the eyes of a racist. In a different matrix, now we gotta make shit. Kwanzaa, yeah, it's time's up. They fighting for this war, but they know that the time's up. Yes, Kwanzaa, yeah, it's time's up. They fighting for this love, but they know that the time's up. Now they in deep water, they ain't had a baby. They screaming out, God, Lord, please come and save me. Yeah, I would know the slave man so crazy. Hoping that his daddy don't try to go kill his baby. Y'all even worse, he can go and sell life. And it can break apart, but is it really worth the drama? It's already bad and it's adding to the trauma. They wanna run away and now they come and make their minds to the time to gotta face the situation is.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's going on?
What's good, Kansas City? What's up, Ezzy? What's up, LaMonica?
Hello, hello.
What's going on?
Need a professional website? I created one for our startup.
Let me
Let me show you how I did.
I got technical difficulties on our end. There we go. Awesome. Welcome to the Wednesday evening What's Next conversation with the Porterhouse KC and Square One with Dan Sharon and Morgan. Tonight, as you see, we got LaMonica Upton here, and we got Ezzy Redwood down there.
Hey.
What's up, people?
What's up?
Hello, hello.
Welcome. Hey, so really quick, Alex said hi. So what's up, Alex?
What's up, Alex?
She's phenomenal. So really quick, before we jump into our shout outs, let's do a little round robin introduction to the Facebook family. LaMonica, you want to start since you're right here?
Sure. My name is LaMonica Upton, and I am the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator for the Center for Neighborhoods. We are part of UMKC, and we serve residents in Kansas City, Missouri.
Awesome. So, Marlena tapped in. What's up, Marlena?
What's up, Morgan?
So, Morgan, why don't you go ahead, or no, Ezzy, since you're right below us, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name's Ezzy Redwood. I'm with Wayne's Cafe, and most importantly, we're trying to make some revolutionary moves with Lily and James Creative.
Dope. Awesome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Morgan?
Hey, everybody. It's Morgan from the library, live from my kitchen, like every Wednesday night. At the public library, we seek to help people discover their economic empowerment. So whether you want to open a business or start a new career, let us help you out on your journey. We've got some great information.
That's what's up.
To my left,
Sharon Thompson, the other co-founder of the Porterhouse KC, and we are at the spot.
We are in the building.
We are actually at the spot where we about to make some things happen.
Absolutely. Hey, you might hear a fan or something like that in the background a little bit. It's because it's a little warm in here, but it's all good. We make it work.
Trying.
What's going on, sir? Good evening. Hey, so really quick, the way we do it is we do kind of like a round robin of shout outs. So we like to kind of recognize people that are doing some things in the community. LaMonica and Ezzy, if you have some folks that you guys want to shout out to that's being present in our current situation, definitely shout those folks out. So I guess I'll start. A friend of mine.
You gotta say who you are.
Oh, yeah, Dan Smith, founder of the Porterhouse KC. Gang. All right. So let's shout out Tyrone, my good friend Tyrone Gathers, KUAW. He has a show on Tuesday nights called The Source of the Inkwell. He actually had a really great conversation last night with the individual that's trying to open a black guy that's trying to open the first, maybe only, I don't know if this first, but only black-owned gun shop here in the Kansas City metro area. And he had a really good conversation with him last night. So if you get a chance, go look at his replay because that was really good, dope conversation. Alex, I wanted to shout you out. You're doing your thing, staying present, so we appreciate you. Cynthia Fales is rocking and rolling. She's doing a ton.
Nice.
Dwayne Joseph, he actually has a new book out. So check his Facebook out. Busy Benton, 816 Day, he's pushing forward. I want to shout out Cal Smith, the Rise Up, Get Started program that he has going on is pretty dope. Murray Woodard, I don't know if you all are tapped into Murray's Facebook page, but Murray one day, and I'm gonna keep it as short as possible, but Murray drove by a assisted living apartment complex down I think on 16th, 17th in Jackson, and he saw some residents sitting outside with some no AC signs, trying to advocate for themselves because they didn't have air conditioning. In the middle of the day, it was probably like maybe 11 o'clock. So it was almost close to 80 to 90 degrees when they were outside in wheelchairs and everything like that. And Murray pulled over and stopped and asked him what was going on. And they told him they didn't have air conditioning or hadn't had air conditioning for about 2 weeks in this apartment complex. And Murray, Murray's in Centurion and he's well connected, works with Kaufman Foundation, a program manager with the Kaufman Foundation. So he posted on Facebook and just asked anybody to help. And they end up getting the news out there. Centurions came, the Kansas City Police Department came, a bunch of folks came, food, water, resources, and they showed up for 3 days in a row. And they put pressure on the folks that own the apartment, the management company. And they end up getting the air conditioning fixed. They end up getting a lot of other things taken care of while they were there. So I just wanted to shout him out because he did a phenomenal thing there. And we need stuff like that. So that's my shout outs. I'm done. And who else?
My shout outs. I like to shout out my wife, Lauren Thompson, with Amethyst Place. I'd like to shout out, we already shouted Jaquan?
No,
Quan Heron with, 28?
26.
What is it?
2. You know what? We're not even going to. The Scarlet Knight.
Is his comic book he's created.
2926.
Yeah, there it is.
I got it. I got you, Quan.
I want to shout out to Casey Dackery, Carletta, Shaquille Webb. I want to shout out to Davin. I'll go down the list. Michael Long.
Michael Cremona.
Yeah, Michael Cremona. What's going on, Mike? Shout out to just Casey in general. How everybody doing?
All right. Anybody else got some shout outs? People they want to talk?
I will shout out Dina Newman and Dr. Jacob Wagner and the rest of my team at the Center for Neighborhoods. We've been trying to figure out how to pivot during this time. And so our team rocks, and I want to shout them out. And I cannot wait. I cannot leave out my girl, Andrea Genero, with Livable Neighborhoods in KCK. I'm a dot, y'all, so I'm a rep hard. So just want to shout out Andrea. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll hop in here too. I'll shout out King Kie and all of the other people kind of working besides the organizing to keep it peaceful and productive. And I think those guys are now kind of moving to bring everything together so that everyone's talking.
You broke up a little bit as you.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear us? All right. So as he broke up a little bit. So Morgan, you wanna jump in really quick?
Man.
We'll come back to Ezzy.
Yeah, you got it. I want to shout out you two. Actually, the guests that you all pull, unbelievable. Like the conversation topics have been great, but the people you get to donate an hour, 2 hours on a Wednesday night every Wednesday for 3 months now, 3 full months.
Right.
It is astounding to me. Like this could be its own in-person, fill the Kaufman Auditorium every single week. We've had great. So you two are just killing it. I'm pretty sure that you might know everyone in the city and like know them well enough to get them to do this. And that blown away by you two every single week.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, so want to mention that Michael Cremona said that he canceled his birthday party to see LaMonica live. So I just wondered, how big is that, right? Like, how huge is that? And happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Absolutely. Happy birthday! We're gonna sing you. I'm not gonna show you what we got over here, but I'll cheers to you. I slipped. I almost slipped. And then Andrea said, "Thank you, LaMonica, for the shout out." D Moore said the dot is in the house. Yeah. Marlena said agreed. And Dan and Sharon, what's up, D?
What's up, D Moore?
So I'm trying to wait. Ezzy had to click out, and so hopefully he's able to click back in here in a second. But we'll kind of go into our main conversation. And so, Morgan, we had talked about this last week. We talked a little bit about community development and what that really means and what that truly means in the Earth Core as it relates to small business and neighborhoods, right? And so we had talked a little bit, and Morgan said, "Hey, do we know anybody from the Center for Neighborhoods?" And I said, "Absolutely, we know somebody from Center for Neighborhoods." And so I reached out to LaMonica, and we so appreciate LaMonica coming. And Ezzy is on the entrepreneurship side, right? The small business side. He's done a ton of advocacy for entrepreneurship in the city. And it's just phenomenal what he's done with his resources to get budgets changed, you know? There he is. There he is.
Yo.
All right, Desi. We got you.
They trying to Nelly me out here, man. They trying to Nelly.
It's all right. It's raining outside. It's okay. Connections are bad.
These Missouri internet providers, man.
There you go. Hey, so I was just saying. So Ezzy, go ahead. I want to finish shout outs. You were giving some really good shout outs before we jump into this conversation.
Yeah. I was just saying, shout out. I just wanted to give a shout out to all of the people kind of bringing together and coalescing the demonstrations. I think that there's some people who've been working really hard to keep it productive and peaceful, and also I think that there's going to be a lot more people here in the near future trying to bring everyone together, because it's easy with movements to get splintered and get into the what are you doing versus what am I doing, and not having unified messaging. And so I give a shout out to all those people kind of helping with that world. And a shout out to I'm gonna give a shout out to ourselves. Lillian James has been filming Black businesses for free, giving them videos. So I don't think Erin talked about that stuff. It was actually originally her idea, and stuff. So I just want to give that shout out to you.
So that'll be something that we definitely want to tap into a little bit here in a second. But so we wanted to start at a baseline for this conversation, and generally speaking, in your eyes, how can the community support small business owners and entrepreneurs? What does that look like for you guys? LaMonica, I'm gonna let you start first because Ezzy is fixing his hair. I'm gonna let you start first, LaMonica.
Well, I think the biggest thing is really making sure that community is aware. There's an assumption that there are small businesses. Everybody knows who they are and what they do. And I think sometimes that's just not the case. Many of them have little to no budget to actually advertise. A lot of it is word of mouth. And quite honestly, my sister has been in business. She's a small business owner. She's been a beautician for over 20 years. And she had to build her base. And that's the thing. I feel like a way to encourage small business, especially at the neighborhood level, is organize neighborhood associations, get to know the small businesses, because you are generally the mouthpiece for the neighborhood. So if you're the leader, go and visit those small businesses, find out who they are, what they do, and make sure that they have an opportunity to connect with the residents, because sometimes residents aren't going to automatically just go there. And of course, small business owners are trying to run their business. So they don't necessarily have the capacity oftentimes to get out in the field and go door to door, maybe with the exception of hey, we're getting ready to open, and so we can do it that way. So I think it's a two-way street. Not an assumption on either side, but a willingness and a want to work together.
Awesome. What you think about that, Ezzy? What's your thoughts on how the community can support small business owners? I know you really were heavy into political awareness, right, and really encouraging folks to get out and vote. So I know that was one way that you were really pushing. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess there's no point in I was going to keep it about 75 or 80, but I'm just in a mood to keep it all the way 100 today.
I love it.
So there we go. Yeah, man, I don't think that anyone really cared about small businesses before they realized what it would mean to not have them. And so, from the greater scheme of things, and so I think that's on a national level as well. And so now you see kind of these things, but the people are like, but small businesses have the PPP loans, but the PPP loans really weren't immediately designed to be beneficial to the small businesses. I think in the language that it came in originally crafted was supposed to be a great way to help prop up the banks with new loans, and then secondarily it was going to have a trickle down effect to the small businesses. I think you've seen that people realize that most people are there's a lot of people that are employed by small businesses, right? So then when politicos on the national level started seeing those unemployment numbers go up, skyrocket up, and they're like, oh snap, we gotta do something. And I think that was when you saw the language change a little bit. The original language wasn't very friendly for small businesses, and so that's kind of my take in terms of what people can do. I'd say I'd like to see people get creative. If they, whatever their talents are, I'd like to see them use those talents to help a small business. If their talents are talking. Hey, tell some people. post on Facebook if you like the post. If you have the money, that's great. Spend money with small business. Try to make that priority. Try to see what in your life you can spend with a small business versus someone else. There's some other large big boxes that have record profits. So maybe instead of buying for them, buy from the local store. Those are my immediate things. If you're a graphic designer, offer some graphic design for people. If you're an accountant, offer to do whatever you're talk about it inside the company, talk about it with some of your clients, just things like that. It would go a really far way. And I think, as LaMonica mentioned, I feel really bad for the businesses who were not able to really who were, one, directly impacted, right? But two, those who were newer, because those on the newer side, like these are the times that you fall on your reputation and you fall on your community. And if the community doesn't know who you are yet, or they, you haven't had time to build that up, then you're kind of screwed,
I just want to piggyback to what Ezzy said. He's right. The newer businesses are going to have a tough time, but what I've learned is I'll share the same thing we would tell people who decided to run for office when I was in KCK. You have to get to know the people. And so a lot of people, we have this mindset, if we build it, they'll come. Well, not necessarily, especially if they don't have a ride. Okay. And so when you're dealing with small businesses, it boils down to your relationships. I'll shout out Andrea again. Andrea and I, a couple of years ago, did a conversation at UMKC's Women of Color conference. And we talked about CPR, collaboration, partnership, and relationship, and how they are three very distinct things. And so when it comes down to it, it's really about your relationship, because you can build, people will support based on your relationship. And so I think relationship building is also something that individuals who are considering starting their own business, or entrepreneurs or small businesses, need to consider. What connections are you making prior to? What base are you building, and how are you building that base? Because some of the smaller businesses probably have, those that have been able to sustain, it very well could have been because of the relationships that they built prior to COVID. So.
And then the other thing I add on is that
Ezzy, if that's you keeping it 100% real, I mean, you could be a little more provocative. That was pretty calm, man.
It's still early. It's still early.
Everything you said, right? So I would tell you, I've been standing on a hill screaming it for 3 months, but I've been staring at my computer screen, screaming it for 3 months. We all got caught not paying attention. Those SBA programs were created by people, bless their hearts, that don't even know anyone like you. They have most of their success to thank from really big businesses and really big donors. They are not worried about you. And so then suddenly we were in a situation where everybody around us was saying, oh, there's help. Oh, there's help. Oh, there's help. But we weren't feeling that help, because that help was not for us. That help was not for micro enterprises. And this morning we brought up at the library doing a program on how to best close your business, because that's how bad things are right now.
Wow.
That's not new. And they're not wrong. That would be helpful right now, because that's how many businesses that we're going to already seeing close. Like that's for real. So we have to start advocating for ourselves in this. And I know you hear that all the time, and you're doing it, but right now, if you don't have a relationship with a bank, now's a good time. They're listening now. I can't promise you they're going to be listening in 3 weeks. but they're listening now.
Small bank, preferably.
So
Big banks don't care about it.
Oh no, can I not hear Ezzy? Crap.
You hear him? You didn't hear him?
I don't think I can hear him. Do I need to drop out and come back
Morgan,
in?
you can't hear Ezzy?
I mean, I can hear you.
Did he tell me I'm amazing and brilliant?
You can hear him?
I think something along those lines.
Right. Drop out and come back in. Drop out and come back in, Morgan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
Ezzy, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like sometimes people make the mistake of going with big banks, and I don't know if this is gonna be a shock to some people, but don't use a big bank because like your Bank of Americas don't care about you. They don't. People are like, Bank of America hasn't returned my calls. Like, you know, like you're a small account to Bank of America, right? Side note, next year I would like to personally see the city of KC Mo, whose accounts with Bank of America, do a review of the benefits that Bank of America provides to them as a city, because it hasn't been analyzed in 4 years. Just saying, there might be some local banks that are willing to give us better terms as a city for being a custodian of our money. But I'm not going to go into that today.
Right.
I guess I'm
Ezzy, you got the platform, man. This is all for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what I will say is like make sure you use a small bank. Small banks are going to care more. They can have more flexibility. Local banks also same thing. But don't go with Bank of America, man. Don't go like those banks don't care about you. You know, that was evident. I think this did a great job showing how evident it is, right? I'd be surprised if you had less than $1 million on their sheets, their statements. If you got the call back the first couple days the PPP came out, like I'd be shocked. If you did, you're doing something right. You have a great relationship with somebody, but you know the first 2 weeks. You know, everyone that we knew, and the people who did get called back, it wasn't like they were just completely overwhelmed. Like, we knew people who had loans, like they had their money cash in hand by day 4, right? So it's not like, that was the case. But nonetheless, like, just make sure you use a small bank. That relationship, like Morgan said, really does matter. And also the elections, the state elections are coming up in November. You know, and I just point that out because there's going to be a lot of people campaigning, and now's a great time to say, hey, you know, what are you doing for small businesses, right? You call them up, call the candidates. What are you doing? We can organize some forums, as many as possible, to make that into a topic that should be a staple of all of the campaigns across the state. And the more that we can do to get that top of mind, the better, because the states are going to be, especially this next year, the states are going to be the main ones with the money. The cities are going to be, in a similar position to us, unless something changes here, pretty soon. So.
Yeah,
pretty tight with money.
That's some great points. So, really, really good point. So, really quick, for the people that are watching, if you can tap in, just say hi, just say, hey, we're here, whatever the case may be, just so we know who's on here. That would be great. If you have a question or a comment, definitely post it in the comments as well, because we love to interact with the folks that are watching, because this is a part of that too. It is being able to connect. Sometimes, there's a lot of people that can't connect with Ezzy. There's a lot of people that can't connect with LaMonica. Well, this is the opportunity to do so. So if you have questions or anything, definitely tap in the comments. Hey, Amy. Amy called Morgan out last week. I just want to say that. So anyway,
as a side note, if you haven't gotten a message from me back, please hit me up again. Right? I just an hour ago, you said I wasn't sure if you were talking about me or what, but like just an hour ago, like someone messaged me like, "Hey, so I just want to know why you ghosted me." And I was like, "I ain't ghost you. What are you talking about?" I looked through the messages, and I'm like, I definitely didn't see the response to my last response. So I just say that. Like I try to hit everyone back, but I don't always do a great job.
It was the cell phone providers were all kind of wonky in the last couple of days. So we'll blame it on T-Mobile and Sprint.
Very good. Very good.
I got you. Hey, so kind of follow up or lead into what we were just talking about. Like, what does true advocacy look like? What does that mean to you when we say you need to go advocate for small businesses, or you advocate for your cause, or whatever that means? Like, you guys have platforms just because of what you've done and what you build, but like someone that has no connection to everything that you guys are doing, how do they advocate for small business, for economic development, just to see changes to happen in their community? What does that look like to you guys?
Well, I think for me, advocacy, I don't know, it's personal for me. Personal in the respect that you do your homework to find out what really is. And so sometimes you have people that'll say, hey, you need to go advocate for this thing. Well, I have to do my homework because I don't want to be caught not being able to answer the questions. Because that is more of an indictment of your personal self than really what it is that you may be advocating for. So I think it's really about having a personal conviction about that thing. Or let's say you're not connected to it. I'm always trying to find a way to connect to things. So it may not be something that I'm just 100% on as far as knowledge-wise. We're working with, there are 240 registered neighborhood groups. I believe that's the right number in Kansas City, Missouri. And that's a lot of people to try to wrangle and understand what it is that is important to them. So in the work that we do, we try to help people understand what advocacy is for them. You can't just do a blanket statement. And I think that's some of the difficulty, is because you have people that want to do a big bandage for everything, and that's not necessarily the case. So I think it's really about figuring out what it is, what's important to the people you are working with. 240 neighborhood groups. I bet you there's 240 times how many ever average number of neighbors in that neighborhood, what they want to advocate for. And so listening is a huge part of that, because I can mess up and advocate for the wrong thing based on what I think I heard versus what I really know. So you have to take time. I'm always going to kick it back to a relationship because that's important to me. It has to start there. So it doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is that I want to advocate for. Making sure that the people know that I have their best interest at heart, even if I don't know the fullness, that I'm going to take it as far as I possibly can. And if I don't know, then I can access other people who do know. To me, that's important.
Dope. I love that. What do you guys think, Morgan, Ezzy? What does advocacy look like for you guys?
So I'll hop in. I mean, really, I think it's like, hate to say it, but like, if you're not, if you're not top of mind, and if I think in the political context, I guess, so if you're not presenting a unified electorate, like a voting body, then like, I don't know how much your opinion matters when it comes time to make hard decisions, right? So like funding allocations, hard decisions. We'll just say law enforcement, whatever's hard decisions. You know what I mean? Like, all of these hard decisions, like easy decisions, sure, a couple people can say something. But if you're presenting a choice and it might not be the popular choice, or it might be a hard choice, you need to have a unified front, as many people as possible, and as many people who, are potentially going to be voting as possible. Because I see so much, happen that, I see so much happen that I disagree with, but there's no unified voices there to advocate the other way, right? So it's like, just as a safe example, we'll say, because I'm keeping 95. You have you have all these kids who are 16 to 18 committing crimes right now. Now it's down to 14, so 14 to 18 committing crimes. Right? Well, I mean, do you think that maybe those numbers might be impacted if they have after school programs? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like maybe like some of the projects that might got diverted to that don't like really help anyone outside of a very niche group of people. Maybe that could help solve some of the youth crime. That's just my thoughts. I feel like I was about to tip over into the hundreds, so I had to pull it back a little bit.
Go on,
Yeah.
go on.
I think that advocacy, when I get a visual representation of what advocacy means, I think of the moms in the world whose children have died. That's what I think about. That driving force of one person who does unbelievable amounts of work, that produces pamphlets, that does the meetings, that goes to the Capitol, that relentless drive to explain your case and make change happen. I had an amazing opportunity to spend some time with Matthew Shepard's mother when I was in grad school, and just ask her how she built a relationship with a Republican-led government in a state that didn't have a huge problem with her son being beaten to death. And like, how did you do that? So when I think of advocacy, that's those moms, and we have moms in the news right now that are moving mountains because of what happened to their children, right?
Absolutely. Right on.
That's advocacy. That's understanding at a deep level what your intention is, what your goal is, and then understanding the wraparound issues around it that you're going to have to deal with. So when LaMonica was like, research, and as he was like, political issues, all of those things go into that, because it's so hard to create sustainable change at any level in anything without an understanding of residents and an understanding of City Hall. Like, everybody has to say that, and you have to like craft a message and be on point, and you have to be ready for the people who are going to step up and challenge you on it, because that challenge is going to come. And there was that pregnant pause Amy was talking about. That challenge is going to come, and it's going to have to do with stuff that it shouldn't have anything to do with, but every time it is. And so that's what I think about advocacy. Like, you got to bring not just your A game, you got to bring every game at every level with you when you want change like that.
So I just wanted to I want to mention that, there's folks that feel like, they're not in a position to, or they don't know how to research or what to research and things like that, or how to get a following to grab on to whatever is important to them. And I would like to say to those folks, find the folks that have a passion for what it is that you have a passion for, and follow them, right? Not everybody has to be the leader. Not everybody has to be the rah-rah person, but you also can follow the folks that actually have your interest in mind as well. And I say that to say, like, Ezzy, was it last year or about a year and a half ago, when Ezzy went on his campaign for small business owners and entrepreneurs in the Kansas City area and the budget as it relates to the city budget. And Ezzy was a leader in that space. And not everybody is going to read the how many pages did you read? Did you have to read Ezzy, as it relates to the budget?
I want to say it was 360 or 370.
It was it was hundreds of pages. Not a lot of people are going to open up that book and dive into those hundreds of pages, right? But we need people like Ezzy to do that, and to explain to us what exactly is going on and what does that mean, there then you can follow. So Ed says, hey, we need to be at this location, right? All right, I'm at the location. That is a form of advocacy too. So make sure that it doesn't all start with the person in the position of leadership, but it also comes with the followers, because the leader is only as strong as the folks that are following them as well. So remember that as it relates to advocacy, just for the folks that are tuning in.
All right.
Dan, go ahead, Swan.
Go ahead, LaMonica.
No, I was just going to add to that. We have to get out of this mentality that if I'm not the person leading it, then no good thing will come of it, or that I get lost. Because the reality of it is when someone wins and you guys are fighting for the same thing, then everybody that's fighting for that wins. And so we really have to get out of this, oh, I didn't start it. And unfortunately, we have a lot of that from leadership all over the place, okay? So from the top to the bottom, we're looking for our space. It's like, okay, well, I want to advocate for this. I did senior work. Before I started doing neighborhood work, I worked with seniors for 9 years. And I used to tell my seniors all the time, you are your best advocate. No one else knows what's ailing you or hurting you if you don't speak up. And so it's a matter of how do we get people to speak up about those things that are important to them. And Dan, like you said, it's basically find your tribe, find who's doing, because somebody's doing it. Somebody's reading those documents like Ezzy, because guess what? That would not be me. That would not be me.
Exactly.
But that's because that's not my fault. That's not where my biggest passion is. I want to see people successful. But if you start messing with my neighborhood people, I might fight you. And so those things that impact them directly, I'm going to read. I did Medicare counseling for those 9 years that I was working with seniors. And when the Affordable Care Act, I was one of those people on my soapbox talking about stop calling it Obamacare. It really angered me, because if you looked up Obamacare, what did you see? You saw cartoons and negative depictions of the president at the time. And if you looked up the Affordable Care Act, you had this humongous document. What was it, like 2,000 pages, double spaced. And the part that they were talking about was just a small portion of that complete document. Well, I read the part that was important about what I was trying to advocate for. And so you're right, Dan. You don't have to know everything, but if it's something you're passionate about, even that looking for those people and doing it, you have to do a little bit of research. So we're spending a lot of time on social media now. There are so many groups on Facebook that are doing what you do, and you just kind of pop in, see if they're legit, pop out if they're not, and go on to the next, or find someone who's doing the work and jump on board.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. And there's some groups on Facebook too that you can join too that you can they will actually follow you. So if you put your Instagram account on there, they will actually join your group, because again, that if there's 100,000 followers in one group, then it's no reason that all these followers should not be following you, which is dope. And that's going on now. And I also have a question. If you had magic wand, this is for Ezzy, LaMonica, and Morgan. If you had a magic wand, what would you do to change one thing in work that you do?
So I'll go first. I think that what I would do is it shouldn't take a crisis for us to do something like the CARES Act. So if I had the wand, I mean, that's something that we would do because it's the right thing to do, and we would do it sooner, and we would do it more often because of the economic benefits that it can have. So that's mine. And I'd like to say to LaMonica's point, and this is where I'm gonna keep it back up to. I'm gonna turn it back up to 100. There's a saying with people that there's a saying with some people I know that the only people that care about titles are people who haven't had them before.
Right.
So I say that to say that there's a territoriality that comes with people wanting to feel ownership of something or wanting to feel significance. And that's usually a sign that people who've already been there and done it, they're like, man, F that. Like, for what? But like, that's stress, there's drama and trauma, but it's better to go, there's another saying that I think more people should maybe internalize that says that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that people want to go fast and want to just do something, but they don't realize they're going to run out of gas because like it's literally impossible to create a massive change when you don't have a massive movement behind you. And that movement can come from just a few people, a few key people, but you've got to embrace those people and don't, you don't know, no one owns a movement. Right, that's all I'm saying.
I think if I had a magic wand, I am all about real community engagement. I've worked in, now I'm working in two different realms. I worked for a municipality for 14 years, and I saw how a community engagement was done. I was a part of it, and so it is, I would love to see real community engagement. I think about the community development. I think about economic development. And I think of those things and I'm like, how do you do that without the community that you say is for? And so I think I would love some real community engagement where residents and members of the community are actually listened to, not listen to respond, but actually listen to take it in, and then allow it to evolve, because Kansas City, the metro area, as we know it, is full of so many people with so many and so many, and there's so many opportunities that could be born for relationship building and actually getting some synergy around some of the things that we all deem important. But I think if I had a magic wand, it would be real community engagement, which means people have to be quiet and listen, and then, respond afterwards, but respond with action, not just talk.
We said something about that last week where we talked about instead of listening to actually understand, you're just hearing and like a piece of it, and the rest of that time that someone's talking, you're preparing a response, right? Yeah. So I'm not actually listening to your full thought or where you want to go with what you're talking about, but I'm listening to that first part, and then I'm ready to respond to that first part of the conversation that you had and miss the whole message because I'm listening just to respond. So that's a good point, LaMonica. Yeah. Morgan, what you think? Uh-oh.
No, this is really hard, because part of me wants to say that I wish we all spoke the same language. And by language, I mean also cultural norms. Because I have seen so many things end in a fiery crash for really dumb reasons. I truly, truly believe that when someone is mad enough to complain, that is when their ground is the most fertile for change to happen. But that is not how that situation ever goes, right? And how I express my anger, Karen, elicits a certain response that doesn't get us anywhere. So if we could find a way, and we don't all have to communicate the same way, but if we could find some space to try on what someone else is saying, because I literally don't understand why some people think the things they do, right? And we should all have moments of identity with that, right? Where we're looking at someone and we're like, how did you even come up with that? If I had a magic wand, we would be able to see how they came up with that, right? Because they might have the key to unlocking that. They might have the solution to that situation, but we cannot experience the world in the way that they experience the world, and we don't even try. So when people approach us with complaints, which happens at the library all the time, right? I have a reputation. I'll call myself out before Amy does it for it. I really enjoy customer complaints because customer complaints should be an opportunity for us, whether you're in government or a nonprofit or you're at Bath and Body Works. That should be an opportunity for us to find the holes in our system, right? Or the ways it doesn't work, or the customer that gets left out. But that's not how we treat them, because we do not make ourselves think about things from other people's perspective.
That's a great point. That's a really good point. I want to, because of all the unrest and because of the uneasiness, I think that we need to appreciate, and I'm just kind of going off of what Morgan was saying about the understanding of others, right? I think it's more about an appreciation of differences than it is wanting to walk in someone's shoes, right? Like, I want to appreciate the difference. I want to appreciate something that we don't have alike, that you do better or are different or whatever the case may be, rather than judge or rather than feel a negative opinion about your process or you or whatever it is about you. So I think that once we get to a space where we can appreciate, and that's where a lot of this unrest is coming from, these protests and stuff like that. At the end of the day, a part of it is the killings, the police brutality and things like that. Also, another of it is because there's a whole group of people being ignored, right? And there's a whole group of people that are not being appreciated for their difference. And now those people that are not being appreciated are out in the streets, and they are demanding that folks listen now. And so I think that's a huge part of it. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Morgan, because that's a big part of all of this. Yeah. So really quick, Monica, can you go into a little bit of detail about the cohorts that you all host at UMKC Center for Neighborhoods? What is that about, and how can folks get involved?
Well, the Center for Neighborhoods provides a 12-week training for neighborhood leaders and or residents that are currently active in their neighborhood associations. In some cases, it's people who move into an area and there's not an active neighborhood group. And so they're looking to organize, and we provide a 12-week training for them. We cover 4 main components. It's leadership and governance, planning and development, health and safety, and then of course, tech and communication. And so we covered those 4 areas during our 12-week class. Unfortunately, our cohort number 8, which started at the beginning of the year, got stopped in class 2. And so we've been able to pivot somewhat, and we are still staying engaged with our neighborhood organizations that have come through. I believe, and I'm still fairly new to the center. I've only been there since September. But we've had about 175 residents actually come through our classes. And it's really an opportunity for residents to really get engaged at the neighborhood level. You know, there is this misconception that people don't want to be involved. And that's just not true. It's just they want to be involved differently. And so we give them an opportunity to, one, we were able to see exactly where they want to be involved, how they want to make impact, where they want to make change. And then we're able to provide them with capacity building and other training opportunities to get them engaged, not only with the university, but as well with the city. So coming from KCK, I worked at Livable Neighborhoods, and we were actually we were employees of the city. And so it's a little bit different for me. So I'm pivoting. So you'll hear me kind of jump in and out of local government, municipality talk, and I'm learning university language.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's just a great opportunity for people to really understand the power. Residents, I really don't think people know how much power they have when we work together. And the synergy that comes along with that, Dan, when you were talking about, looking at the differences, but taking the chance, taking the opportunity to look at what they are. I would challenge you in the respect that there are more things that we have in common than we have that are different. And I think sometimes we're real quick it's easy to identify those things that are different, but it takes more work to actually identify those things that are common. And those are things that we're able to do in our cohort classes, that we're able to actually, we've had residents from all over. So you have them from really affluent neighborhood associations and HOAs, and then you have them from the more smaller groups that are really trying to figure this thing out. Well, how do we do what we do? How do we advocate for ourselves? How do we advocate for change in our neighborhood? And so it's an opportunity for us to teach that. Our classes usually are about 20 residents. Generally speaking, we have 2 representatives from each of the neighborhood associations that sign up for us. I don't have it memorized. I should, and I apologize. But you can reach out to me at neighborhoods@umkc.edu for more information. And of course, things are changing. So we're not exactly sure the full-on how we're going to take our next cohort, actually how we're going to finish this cohort. We have been engaging, like I said, all of our neighborhood organizations that have come through. They've had an opportunity to engage with us weekly since the first, we went on lockdown in March. So we kind of did a real quick pivot. And I think the first part of April, we were able to get online with them. So we've been meeting with them weekly. And it's just a great opportunity to learn.
That's awesome. That's awesome. LaMonica, you can't, if the host says something, you got to just agree with it. You can't be going against the grain.
See,
you got to push back on.
You knew better than that when you asked me to be on.
That's why I said that. Hey, Ezzy, so can you talk a little bit more about, because I know you alluded to it in the very beginning, we wanted you to talk about the partnership that you have with Lily and James. First, talk about kind of what you're doing, and then talk about the relationship that you have with Lily and James and what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess, I'm actually just finding out that a lot of people didn't realize. But so I had a company called LV8. We worked on just hard problems. Any problem that was hard, whether that was growth hacking for small businesses or, working on things, how to change the image of a school district. So we got acquired in December by Lily and James, and since then I've been working as the VP of Community Experiences to really create something new and different. And so we kind of struggled a little bit with what exactly that would end up looking like, but we finally hit our stride with that. Actually, ironically, right before the quarantines. But one of the things we decided is that right now marketing is it's a perfect symbol of the have and have nots, right? So if you're a big corporation, you can afford to hire developers and designers, graphic designers, and videographers and copywriters and right. And if you're a smaller medium-sized company, even if you're doing 1 or 2 million in revenue a year, a couple of million revenue a year, you go to some of the marketing firms and you're like, hey, I need some help, right? And you're like, how much does it cost me? And their answer is always, it depends, right? It depends. It depends on a few things. It depends on how much we think you can pay. It depends on what your budget is. It depends on how important it is to you. So all relating to point number one. And then it depends on what you need done is usually number 4 on the list, right? And so one of the things we felt like is that, a business's ability to connect in a meaningful way with their target audience shouldn't be impacted by how much they can afford to pay. Whether they can afford to have on the right people on staff. And so we essentially decided to become an outsourced marketing department. And so we made our teams available, which are top tier videographers. They used to work for Adidas and all these other people. Emmy nominated, top tier graphic designers who built the Chick-fil-A website and the Nike and all these other things. Top tier copywriters who won awards. Like all of these amazing people, we just wanted to bring together and make them available for transparent rates, right? So we publish the rates on the website, which nobody does. Nobody does that. But we just wanted to help people, budget for it and just be transparent. So that's kind of what we're up to. We're trying to shift that conversation. But in the meantime, like one of the other things that we've been really active on, and unfortunately, I can't share all of the things that we're doing, but because some have to be surprises.
I got you.
But we've been extremely active, kind of,
we can
helping support
small businesses. We could do breaking news here on the show too. We can do, I'm just saying, I mean, no pressure at all, but I'm just saying. We actually, Lily and James, we got the opportunity to work with Lily and James because we won the nonprofit, one of the nonprofit pieces that Lily and James does annually. And so they came on and did some marketing for us. And we got the opportunity to work with them and saw the way that they worked, and we got to see the podcast studio. We got to do some on location shooting and stuff like that. So it was really, really great experience.
No, it was posing and everything.
Yeah, really great experience.
I had a change of clothes.
Sharon had changes of clothes. He was ready. He was ready to go.
I had like 5 outfits.
I had to pressure him not to change clothes. We were just going to do the one.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you didn't change clothes. You held them and you looked at the clothes. Sorry if your wife's watching, but he thought about it because I think his wife was an advocate of him changing clothes too. And he looked at the clothes. He looked at them, and then he put them back on the table and was like, "No, I'm gonna do the rest of the photo shoot exactly what I'm wearing."
Exactly. And then he probably went home and told her something totally different.
Yeah, I ain't need the 690 though.
Right. It was done. He did it. It was done. That's awesome. Yeah, we love working with you guys. Lily and James is a phenomenal company. They just did some highlights of some Black-owned businesses and invested a lot of time and resources into that. And I thought that was really phenomenal. There was a couple of Black-owned businesses that I didn't know that was actually Black-owned businesses. There was a wine bar that's downtown that I didn't know that they were a Black-owned business. So that was pretty cool to find out. So that was awesome. So we're pushing on our hour. We're a little beyond our hour. We don't have a time limit, right? So if you feel like so moved, Ezzy, if there's some things that you need to get off your chest, or if there's something that you want to announce or release, you definitely have the floor to do that. I just want to let you know that, just in case, but if not, it's okay. I get it. But what we do is wrapping up. We just kind of do like a little round robin and get kind of any last thoughts or feelings about the conversation or anything that I didn't ask or we didn't ask that you feel empowered to talk about. This is definitely that time to do that. So Morgan, how about we start with you, because we're gonna let LaMonica and Ezzy think about what they want to their parting words to be. Morgan, what you think?
So I spend a lot of time thinking about my my intentions with my actions, right? Who are these actions for? What am I wanting to happen after the time or the money is spent? And I always come back to a hierarchy of needs, right? So when we went into stay-at-home orders, and we said, okay, we know, because there was a private study that like 70% of the businesses in Kansas City are in real bad trouble and the SBA programs can't help them. What do they need right now? And we went, they need to pivot. But then matching that with the hierarchy of needs, because you cannot skill build when you are in crisis. So we led with something a little bit different, and that's what brought me into a conversation with you two, right? Where we were like, okay, but what do you need to put yourself in the mindset where you can skill build? And I'm talking about this right now because this conversation and these two guests, these were intentional because we want to start getting people to think about how the economy and the community fit together. And I used 100%. Wraparound earlier when I was talking, which is the library way of saying hierarchy of needs, right? So when you're looking at your community and you want to see change in it, it's not just about this little part that you have a problem with. It's about all the things.
Yeah.
And all the things can't change if people are hungry. Just like we know fourth graders can't concentrate if they didn't have breakfast, right? Those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. So I want everybody out there to really take a moment and let it sink in what LaMonica's organization does. Because they give people who are in their houses raging against the machine, they give those people a school they can go to learn how to be effective when they rage against the machine. And that's the sexiest thing I've ever heard of. That is amazing. That means we literally could build teams of people in our communities, and each of those people could have a different role, and you could become a machine for change. But you can't do that if you don't know the things, and they literally built you a school where you can learn all the things. And I wish the library would send me to that, because I feel like I could really do some damage then. So take it, put it in your back pocket, and think about it later when you've got a couple of minutes, and really let that sink in. The next time you're in someone's home and they're going off, or the next time you're at the convenience store that's in your neighborhood and someone's going off, there is literally a place where they can go and they will teach them how to effectively create change. And Kansas City has that. That is mind-blowing.
Exactly.
Why have only 175 people used it? That's my closing thought.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And LaMonica loves it too, because now she's about to get a lot of phone calls and emails on how to sign up.
Well, and here is the thing. I think it's important to recognize that the work that the Center for Neighborhoods is doing is taking it from a neighborhood perspective. So Morgan, I hate to rain on your parade. However, it's designed for the resident. So coming in as a resident versus working for an organization that wants to send somebody through. We realize, or excuse me, I realize that I have to put it that way because like I said, I'm new to the team. I realized real quick that what is being taught to the neighborhood, they feel safe.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you bring in outside organizations to come in with them, then it's my safe space. I can't just rant about what everybody's not going to love the library for whatever reason.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And so, like you said, you're looking at those as opportunities. Well, here's the thing that you should know from us is that when they come in and they're ranting and raving about that, then we really have a conversation. Well, what is it that really bothered you about that interaction? What was it? Because there's someone put in the chat, knowledge is power. That's so. We've heard it so many times that I think we've become numb to it. It's like, yeah. It's just a cliche, but it really is. And so we empower our residents to really know how to maneuver. I've had the privilege of doing that. I was doing it in KCK. I'm very honored to be able to do it now in Kansas City, Missouri. There was a time when there was an organization that was doing it on both sides of the state line. We work very closely with both organizations. And so it's really empowering to make sure that people know that there are entities who want residents to be successful in those things that they're passionate about. But here's the thing. It's like I tell my kids. Or actually, I'm going to give this one to Andrea. Andrea always says, you don't want to know how the sausage is made, right? So I don't know if those people that saw how hot dogs were made or how sausages were made, it's pretty gross, right? And that's it. Some of the things, some of the policies, some of the systems, those things that were built without our knowledge, just know them as being existent. I didn't go venturing to look to see what a hot dog was made out of. I just knew that if it wasn't burnt on the grill, I wasn't eating it for whatever reason. But once you find that out, then you change things and you change how you respond to things. And so that's the opportunity that we have. I am all for making sure people have what they have in hand. I'm a connector. It is part of who I am. And that's important to me because I want you to be powerful. Well, I'm not going to give you the wrong information. And so that's the one thing that residents can know when they come to the Center for Neighborhoods. If they choose to come through our class, let's put a few things out there. One, it's a 12-week commitment. I mean, full-on commitment. There is no cost. I don't know where you can get 12 weeks of any type of training for free. However, we do encourage that you bring someone alongside of you because you can't do it by yourself. You literally cannot. And I think Ezzy kind of made that point. You can't do it by yourself. I mean, you can go somewhere, but you're not going to go far. And so consequently, we are looking for different ways to be able to empower them. We're giving them access. And when I say giving, that's probably not the best term. We are exposing them access to information that's already privy. See, there's a misconception that there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on in the local economy and government that nobody knows about. Well, you empower yourself by understanding what that looks like. There is ways to get information. There's a lot of open record data that's out there. But you have to know it exists. You have to know what you're looking for. And then what are you going to do with it? So, I don't want to use the word. I'm not going to use that word because it doesn't fit right now. But we empower them and we give them the tools that they'll need to be successful. We'll give them the tools and connect them to the people that can give you a better understanding of how things work. Because a lot of what we're seeing is we really don't know what happens behind closed doors. And it's not because they're hiding something. It's because you don't understand how that works. A policy is written for a reason. Now, how do you change the policy if you don't like the way it's written? Those are the type of things. So I think it's just important to know that there are organizations that want residents to be successful. And I appreciate an opportunity to come and highlight Center for Neighborhoods, but it is really something, this is a position of love, and it's love in a different kind of way. It's community engagement. It's really wanting what's best for our residents. And it is just a perfect opportunity for people to be able to tap in. So I'm off my soapbox.
I love it. Ezzy, what you think?
And so I think that there's probably still a lot of depressed business owners out there. And so I think I'd like to speak to that a little bit. I think that from me kind of looking around my networks across the country, one of the things that I've kind of decided, I think we decided this earlier on. I said this in a podcast, some podcasts I did, but I think the first thing that business owners have to do, assuming like your model hasn't been completely crushed, right? So like if it's been halfway crushed, there's still hope. If it's been completely crushed, then that's a whole nother thing, right? But assuming that's the case, then I think the first decision you have to make is whether you really want to survive or not, right? I think that's what it comes down to, because I know that we had a gut check moment where, you know, we're we're looking at the staff like, man, how we gonna? It's 1,400 a day to keep everybody on. Like, where's that gonna come from? You know, it's if you think about how long it could potentially go or not go, right? And so, and that's not including like taxes or benefits or anything. That's just like the actual like paycheck. But I think one of the things that we did that we realized very early on that you have to do if you want to survive is you have to decide that you want to survive. That's and here's why, right? Because one, as the leader, people can tell if they can tell where your head's at, right? So if you're determined, then they'll follow you. You had ships of troops, and you had even before then you had soldiers and armies that would follow their leaders like the Mongols through the Himalayas, right? That's like you have to, that's sub-zero temperature, right? They didn't have heating packs and stuff like that. You had people who would follow into the desert in the middle of the summer because they believed in their leaders, right? Because their leader was so sure. So they'll follow you if they believe that you believe in you. And that's number one. I think that if they feel like you're really committed to what you're doing, and you believe that you all will survive, and they can feed off that energy. And the second thing is it forces you to define or redefine the culture of your company. How are you all going to exist in the future? What is that culture going to be like? What culture do you need to be in order to survive? I think that the third thing it does is it puts you in the mindset, and this is up to you as well, to make sure that you're eating right, so you're thinking clear. Like for me, like I can't eat dairy and red meats if I really want to be mentally agile, right? And so you kind of have to make sure that you're taking care of you for enough time to think creatively, right? And you have to let go of the fear that comes. Fear is a good driver, but when you need to be creative, it's hard because you never think of your best solutions or your best ideas when you're extremely stressed out, extremely sad, or extremely mad. Right. So those are the three things. So you have to at least temporarily get yourself into a positive mind state to be creative. And then you talk to people, right? Talk to people, you share your problems and ask for ideas. And I think sometimes people are afraid to do that. I think people understand now, especially given now. I think, it can sometimes be something people are afraid to do. But sometimes it's not that they have a great idea, it's that they make you think of your own great idea, right? And that happens more than anything else. It's like I'm just at the impasse, and then I talk to someone, and they say something, I run off. I'm like, yeah, that's it. They're like, oh, such and such. You're like, no, that's a terrible idea. But you made me think of what I needed to think of, right? and so like, that's really helpful as well. But again, you have to be in the right mindset to be thinking like that. And the thing I'll say on that, and then you have to be ready to pivot. That's my fourth thing, is you have to be ready to pivot, and you can't cling too tightly to your brand or what you've done before in the past or what you think your customers will want, because when you're trying to survive, you can't think of that. That's not the right mindset. And sometimes your customers are a little bit more agile than you think they are. Sometimes you can get in your head a little too much and prevent yourself from making the right changes that you need. And so, like I've seen, I was in Jacksonville, Florida for a second. I saw a food truck that they had built a little restaurant. Right, they had got some 2x4s and put up some little screens and stuff. They had built their own restaurant. Right? So they parked on the parking lot because no one cared in quarantine where you parked or what you did. And then they built out the little restaurant, and they had a little restaurant there, right? And they had a little market. They had they were making tea and selling like these big gallon jugs of this custom tea that they made, right? And so like it's like the answers are like what I've realized is that the answers are usually there. It's just if we're going to think of them or not. And being in the positive mind state where we can think of the best solutions and not getting too in our own way really allows us to gives us the best chance at survival. And if we don't, then we won't. And the last thing I'll say is that it's kind of like and I'll relate this because it's kind of how I relate to being a business in this past couple of weeks. It was a lot like captaining a small ship in a large ocean storm. Right? You have the waves, and you have to be right, or you have to at least make enough pivots quickly in order to get the right angle on every wave so that you don't get swallowed by the ocean. And I think that going along with that analogy, if you fall off, like let's say the boat capsizes and you're 4 miles from shore, right? You either are in this limbo where you're like, oh shoot, woe is me, what am I gonna do? Like, what should I do? Should I try to swim to the boat? Should I try to swim to land? The water's cold, what am I gonna do, right? And you usually die. You have the other person who's like, I can't swim, woe is me, they die, right? And then you have the people who are like, they make up their mind. They say, I am determined to live, right? And this is actually a real story we heard in Detroit when we were up there. Like, there was these two guys, they were on a ship. Their ship capsized 4 miles from shore, and neither one of them was a particularly strong swimmer, and the water was cold. It was Michigan. So they both decided that they were going to make it, and they started thinking about what they could do to survive, right? And that gave them the foresight to say, okay, the boat hasn't sunk all the way yet. Let's grab the wetsuits, right? So they swim to the boat, they grab the wetsuits, they find some life preservers in there. They grab the life preservers. They found some seats or something that they could use as a raft. So as the boat's still slowly going down, they're putting together this little raft thing, and then they're able to joint paddle, to the 4 miles to shore, right? Instead of what if they had given up would have been a untimely, for sure death. So that's kind of how I look at it: is make the decision to survive, put yourself in the positive mind state, and do what you need to do to take care of you, and then think creatively, and then don't stand in your way, and pivot as many times as possible, as much as you need to survive.
It's dope. It's dope.
I love it. I love that. Man, you dropping all kind of gems out here, man. Goodness gracious. I love it, man. That's true though. I mean, survivability. I mean, but that's not just right now, right? That's not just in COVID. That's just in general, right? Yeah. Like, have the will to push and survive and figure it out. Like we got a fraternity brother of ours. They own the KC Daiquiri shop down there, and they are doing phenomenal, right? But it wasn't because, I mean, they had to make that decision to figure it out, right? To survive. And they made that decision. And now they're doing far better than they were even doing before COVID,
right. And they pushing policies. Right. Policies they trying to push to keep on carrying
after December,
alcohol to the public.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I will be crazy to forget about Juneteenth coming up this weekend. So if you are in business, go out and support network safely this weekend. Just reach out to different people that you are not comfortable with talking to.
Absolutely. DM Ezzy and LaMonica as much as you want. They may or may not get back with you. However,
Ezzy said that. I didn't say that.
The cell phone, the way the cell phones are working right now, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. No, hey, but so first of all, I just want to say that that we greatly appreciate both of you, and Morgan kind of expressed this before, you guys are rock stars in your lane and beyond, and we truly appreciate you guys coming on, accepting the invitation to come talk, and having the discussion that you guys have today, that we had today. There's so much more that we can talk on, and Morgan, we've talked about this, and we're going in the direction of figuring out ways to better, to better community build, right? And so with that in mind, we thought it would be great for you guys to be the starting point of community development and what that looks like for the entrepreneur community and the neighborhoods in the city, and how can we figure out ways to and be more intentional, like Morgan said, creating intentionality about true movement and what that actually looks like and how we can be actionable in merging these spaces. So we greatly appreciate you guys coming and sharing your knowledge and wisdom and stories and dropping gems, because we all appreciate it and need it. So thank you both again and again and again for accepting. You guys are phenomenal. I would say I want to, and LaMonica, Tarsha said she learned a lot, and how can she apply for the cohort? LaMonica, can you post it in the afterwards on the replay? Can you post that information in the chat?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Tarsha, she's going to post that information in there about how to apply for the cohort. Our last piece, parting words. Again, we just have to figure out ways to figure it out, right? We got to be creative. We got to bust down barriers, bust down doors, and do it from all angles, right? Do it from the political space, do it from the community space, do it from the entrepreneurial space, because it all matters, right? There's not one thing that's going to fix this, but collectively, I think we can make some major strides. Again, go ahead, LaMonica. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I appreciate the opportunity to speak, but here's the reality of it: is that it takes forward thinkers like yourself and Sharon and Morgan to bring people together. And sometimes people is like, okay, I don't want to bring people together. I want to keep this separate, and I want to keep this separate. Ezzy and I don't know if Ezzy remembers this, but Ezzy and I first met when we were working on the CDW, which is Community Development Workshop. And that was a while back. And, interestingly enough, community development is so much more than what people think it is, because you can't develop you cannot develop the community without the community. And so it's platforms like this where we're able to talk and have dialogue that is important no matter what realm you're in. I have found myself, one, probably because I've had more time than I generally have. I've had more time to actually sit and listen to platforms that I had never listened to before. Not because I didn't have a desire to, it's just I didn't have the time to. So I just appreciate the work that you guys are doing, even thinking about how do you bring people together and not being afraid of mixing it up. It doesn't always have to be the same people in the same realm, because you even said it, we're all connected. When it boils down to it, we're all connected. And I can't do the work that I do without the residents, the small business owners, the entrepreneurs, the library. We need one another to create community. And so it's a coming together. And so this platform is an opportunity for us to do that. And I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
That was dope.
Thank you. All right, cool. So we are going to be back next week. We got a dope lineup. Sharon, who we got coming next week?
We have Troy Nash, we have Bill Gines, and we have Kira Shree.
So we're excited. We're excited to have another good community development, community building conversation next week. Next Wednesday, 6 p.m. We'll be back.
Ask questions.
Tap in. Don't be afraid. Live in fear. Live through fear. And all that good stuff. And I think there's nothing else to be said. Holla.
On a plantation of exploration of unseen circumstances, these two want to know who they got. Seeing shadows in the dark, awaiting hateful slurs and words and curses that are cursing words. We will see. Once these iris deeds, now you're in Robert fell in love, it wasn't ordinary. Thought he was a slave and robber, he was a commissary. And they can help how they feel, so who decided they wrong? And everything was running smooth and it was coming along. Robber the slave, kind of son, he fell in love with a slave. Don't let the plantation find out or it's gonna be a raid. So they continued this love fest, even though the system was slavery. Told them to love as it really started to love fest. When it's love and then you gotta face it. Even though the situation isn't really basic, all of this is wrong in the eyes of the races. In a different nature, now we gotta make it. When it's love and then you gotta face it. Even though the situation isn't really basic, all of this is wrong in the eyes of the races. In a different nature. Now we gotta make sure the Kwanzaa, yeah, it's time's up. They fighting for this love, but they know that the time's up, yes. Kwanzaa, yeah, it's time's up. They fighting for this love, but they know that the time's up. Now they in deep water, they done had a baby. They screaming out, God, Lord, please come and save me. Yeah, Robert know the slave master crazy. Hoping that his daddy don't try to go kill his baby. Yo, even worse, he can go and sell Nadia and it can break apart, but is it really worth the trauma? It's already bad and it's just added to the trauma. They gonna run away and now they finally make their minds up. Time's up. When it's love and then you gotta face it. Even though the situation isn't.
That's it.